Up first on our agenda is a review and approval of the August 25th, 2014 meeting. Are there any comments? Have a motion for approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Do you need quorum to do it though? Because I wasn't here. So you just have 3 of you?
I've heard that you didn't need a quorum to vote on the
Yeah.
minutes. You can read the minutes over, and so you don't have to be in attendance at the meeting to vote on them. At least
To
that-
approve them?
To approve them.
Yeah.
So,
So I don't have to abstain from the vote?
right. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Next up, meeting minutes of September 8th. A motion for approval of the minutes.
Aye.
Second?
First.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have no public hearings tonight, no conceptual reviews. Generally, we allow 15 minutes during the session for any public comment that anybody has that want to bring up before the planning board.
Yes, we do.
We,
Mr. Vince, concerning Route 208 subdivision.
okay, I just wanted, we pulled it from the agenda.
I know,
We're not ready to discuss it there, but go ahead.
right, we recognize that we took the opportunity for us to speak.
Sure.
If that's okay with the board.
If you don't mind, I'm not always in town when these meetings happen, so I just wanted to present a couple of pictures. There were some questions, I think, when everyone came out to do the walk, about whether the culverts were enough to handle the current water flow. So this was taken on July 2nd, and you can see we're almost at capacity there. We have some rainfall data that we pulled off the website. We don't know accuracy of the
On
both
July
is,
6th,
or
it was probably no greater than 1.25 inches of rain that fell that day.
so, and this was taken at 4:07, and through the night, the rain had stopped, the water receded. The next day, it came over our driveway, you can see here. So this is facing south out of our driveway.
And the next day, there was less than a quarter of an inch of rain.
And that same culvert view from above is completely swallowed.
Just for the minutes, can you state your names?
Sorry, yeah, Vincent Loft, L-O-O-F-T, reside at 30 Cedar Ridge.
We have similar pictures, which we didn't bring, of May 22nd. It also shows the water about to crest, similar to the July 2nd picture. And on May 22nd, there was approximately half an inch of rain. I have a graph that I'm going to have to show folks, showing the precipitation quantities.
So just in my amateur review of the plans, an existing swell, I don't have a big picture of that, where it comes down. The issue we have is, this is the culvert. This water that comes down the hill, and there are proposed berms to direct the water down, does not go into the culvert. It comes across the property line and disperses out. I made a video during the rainfall walking through the woods to show where all of the water actually goes. So all of the dead trees that are on the property are because of that. It's completely flooded.
My property on Eric Step, 28 Cedar Ridge, and Mr. Booth's property are contiguous. We share a long property line. I have only direct contact with the subdivision site, but the water that comes down infiltrates into my property and then opens like a delta and goes through his property. in about 3 places and goes through about my property. There's a separate place that comes out heading down towards drainage ditches.
This is-
Into here.
This is the property with the proposed subdivision of the 2 lots. The swell comes across here, cuts across his property, and here. The culvert is located down here.
Right, the culvert that we're looking at on our right, that is the,
This
the
goes underneath
stream.
our driveway.
But it's, right, it goes under your driveway, but isn't that stream coming from the south and it's somewhat parallel to Cedar Ridge, like on an angle?
Correct.
It also comes from the north, it's also fed by a creek from the north on Mr. Woof's property.
Right. So when you were out, there was the ditch or swell, whatever you want to call it, ran along the length of our driveway, also feeds into this. And all of the water that would come down from this would go into that swell.
So drainage from my property goes in there, and my property is collecting water from the 2 parcels they want to develop, which are directly behind my.
But a lot of that water is also coming from the south, correct?
Yes, some of it comes from the south, some of it's coming down the hillside, and some of it's coming from the north, after having percolated through his property, coming down the swales from the north on his property into there.
Okay.
So we wanted to share that information. Thank you.
If, yeah, I know you're blowing up the pictures and they really look good. If you have smaller ones,
Yeah, I can give you everything that has a geodata with timestamps and everything on it. And I also have video that I can submit and have, where you can see an actual walkthrough of where this was taken. Sure.
yeah, just for the file, just to have that in on the file, just to document it as time it, you have the notes there, but it doesn't fit in the file cabinet. That's what
Yeah,
I'm trying to get
absolutely.
at.
And, you know, the main point I want to stress was that there was argument that, you know, this is a 50-year storm occurrence when it crested our driveway the 3 times that it already had in the past 2 years. So, is that there was not even a heavy amount of rain here. And if you look at the record for the year to date, I wasn't here, I believe it was April 30th was the heaviest rainfall day.
Yeah.
So even on the lack of any major storm, this is an issue. That's the point I want to stress.
Sure, when I went over your driveway, could you tell me where that, was that right there at the culverts?
This
Way
here,
top,
or here.
that there?
So if you're, the culvert, back right here, here's the edge of the court. So the culvert is approximately right here.
Okay.
Okay, so the driveway slopes slightly here, the water's coming down, and you can see here it's completely flooded. This is what's coming down from the hill that I say runs parallel along the driveway, completely flooded here and here, so the whole thing just comes over the top.
Like I said, if you want to
Yeah,
submit that,
Absolutely, thank you
add
so much for
your
your time.
information in and document it. Like I said, we pulled, LP builders will be on the agenda for our October 15th meeting.
October 13th?
15th, 13th is a Wednesday because, you know, town hall is closed. Well, it's closed permanently. Anyway, it's closed on Monday. It's a holiday.
October 14th, okay.
So it's a Wednesday.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else wishing to make any public comment? We'll go into the application reviews. Dave, want to lead us through? We have, I'm putting another one on, well, let's do them separate. Crown Castle is the relocation of the new generator, replacement generator at the,
It's pretty simple. We're replacing the standby power generator at the site, which requires a new pad. The fuel containment is under the generator, all in one footprint. It qualifies as a simplified site plan approval because it meets the criteria as far as the FCC definition of the tower includes a generator. So this is looked at as a co-location, which fits our site plan, simplified site plan code requirement. The other factors, as far as there's no more traffic, there's no more parking, there's no water and sewer to be used there, and it's back away from north of the landfill, I'm sorry, south of the landfill, off the thruway. It's, you can see it if you know where it is, but it's not going to affect any of the stream.
So it meets all the requirements of the simplified site plan review. I got a note from Stacy, read over the memo, is in agreement with you on that. Are they beefing up the generator, or is it have what size, just a replacement on that?
It's beefed up just a little bit. It's a 30 kW now, and I don't recall what they're replacing, somehow larger.
It's 30 feet.
That's the new one. You can see on the plan where the old generator was sitting. There's a pad in the back here that looks like a good possibility, but I'm not sure. It's not known.
Yeah, move the fence a little bit to accommodate the location on it. Board have any questions for Dave on the site? I know the tank isn't very big, but do we have any requirements for tank size?
It's less than the 1,100 gallons, which is
Okay.
the DEC registration.
That's in one in my basement, too. Board have any comments? A motion to approve the simplified site plan, to waive the planning board's review of it, and to use the simplified site plan for the Crown Castle generator replacement project. Clearwater. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, the next one you'll have to do a little bit more explanation since. On the Rite Aid notifications.
The Rite Aid is interior remodel of the Rite Aid store. About 14,500 square feet. It's considered a rehabilitation of the facility in kind, so it meets the type 2 secret threshold. There's no increase in parking, exterior lighting, water or sewer use expected. Not an increase of the footprint of the building. It's all interior, it's partition walls that are changing, but there's no structural changes to them. The reason Stacy doesn't have anything on it is because she gave me the file. It's a pretty simple interior remodel, basically.
Okay. Anybody have any comments? It looks like interior work. Nothing changing outside, on site plan. Doesn't change the parking, doesn't change the water and sewer usage. So, just to be clear on it, we'll go ahead and take vote that it's a type 2 under a seeker requirements. And eligible for a simplified site plan according to the town zoning code. Have a motion to that?
So moved.
Tim, second?
Second.
Michael Lyle. Any discussion? Adele, a simplified site plan, just to go over that, is if they meet minimum changes to the site, less than 4,000 square feet, doesn't change things on the site plan at all, that. The building inspector and Dave will review the project, and if it meets those qualifications, we'll ask for a simplified site plan to go through on it. So these two are very small changes that are practically already approved sites, so we're using that technique on these modifications. Okay, have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Next up, Wildberry Lodge, draft environmental, I should say the scoping document for it.
Good evening, Ross Swinglovich with Engineering Properties.
Jennifer Van Tile from Cuddy and Fader.
And last but not least,
Steve.
Sure. Hi.
okay,
Hello.
just to verify, Kelly, we, as of, I think, we didn't receive any comments during the past 2 weeks from anybody on it. Okay, so I asked the board to take a look at it, if they had any issues on it, to bring them up. We'd really like to send these people off to do their work on it. I'll jump in, and I think the first 8 pages is basically all the permits and agencies that are involved with it. I don't think there's anything in there, but if anybody had a comment on that. Environmental settings, potential impacts, proposed mitigation is pretty much what has been asked for before for that site. But there are a couple of updates from the last one, and I think we included those in there. And of course, the wetlands is a law on the books now for wetlands, so we'll have to deal with that and the buffers around that and the requirements that are associated with the town's wetland law. So that's new, that wasn't in the previous one. Let's see, aesthetic resources. We got 10 critical receptor points identified by the town engineer, and they are, you know, I just want to know what we're talking about.
What we'll end up doing is, and what we did last time, is we'll submit a map to the board and to you, to Dave, showing where the 10 points are. And then we'll ask you to pick, I think is what it says here, we're going to pick so many and do an analysis from a number, the ones that you think are the critical ones.
Okay.
So it'll evolve as we go forward.
Yep.
We'll be back and say, and we want to work collaboratively with you. I'd hate to pick 10 on my own and come back and say, oh,
No,
what
that's the
about?
wrong 9, but other than that, yeah. Okay.
I think there were 10 on the Crossroads project.
Yeah.
And that's why the number was in there.
So you're going to pick a number of them and we'll select
Yep.
10 of them, okay. Okay, so my next question on potential impacts is from 2 of the visual receptors, location 2 and 3. That's why I thought they were already been selected on, but that's, we'll pick that up when we review it. Anybody else on aesthetic resources? Next up, historical archaeological. I think that's pretty straightforward for a site on it.
This is one of the few sites recently that hasn't had anything. Every other site I have had some. This doesn't have.
On transportation, I'd like you to add the intersection of Route 299 and Manheim to this.
299 in Manheim, where is that?
32.
32,
South.
way down in the village.
Yep.
I also have a question about that too, like if we add that intersection, because there's been traffic studies done and some anticipation or belief that a roundabout would be useful there or in other locations in New Paltz, like how does that get baked into these traffic studies?
Like future things that could happen, you mean? I guess you have different, plans that are taking that into account.
Well, I think this, since it's a state road, it's really what a DOT has envisioned for that, and they'll see the same numbers we'll see. We can raise those issues.
I guess can we get comment from the DOT about the potential for near-term plans regarding roundabouts? Because it seems like that's been floated a lot, and for that, the location
All right.
that you're bringing up, which is an important one, and also the idea of like a roundabout where the throughway exit is, which I believe is another one that's been floated.
Yeah, and that's one we're studying also, throughway entrance, sure.
But the throughway entrance, whether it remains the same, or throughway entrance, whether it becomes a roundabout, like I'm just curious how that would.
Yeah, it would be
interpreted.
analyzed in the existing condition unless there's a specific plan on the books that in, 2 years, there are instituting, this situation.
I gues that's what I'm
Well,
asking.
yeah,
It seems
yeah.
like there's discussion
Well, yeah, why
of
don't we
potential for roundabouts in the near term. Who knows? What
Yeah,
is
just-
near
yeah.
term 2 months, 2 years, or 10 years?
With DOT, it could be 10 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I
That's
just
near
want-
term,
I
yeah.
want that question asked and commented on.
Well, the DOT is an involved agency,
Right.
so certainly they're going to comment in light of
But
their
they may
proposed
not
plans.
comment unless we bring the issue up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
And as it relates to the traffic studies that have been done in New Paltz, and there's a great deal of discussion and thought that's already gone into this in terms of what would improve traffic flows in New Paltz, and roundabouts is one of them.
I'm trying to figure out how to characterize what your statement is. And it's something in here
I guess
that-
just asking, did,
that
like,
would-
it,
that makes
during
sense.
this process of getting, I think as Mike brings it, just because the DOT may be considering it, unless we ask them to comment on some of those plans that are under consideration, just,
Yeah, I was gonna say, identify, any near-term plans for DOT improvements of the intersections or?
right.
For example, the roundabouts at those intersections.
Because it seems like some of, a roundabout at this location would be better for this type of project, or any traffic, any sort of traffic.
Sure, it's only to our benefit if they're actually
Exactly.
planning something, because it'll be a mitigation of some
Yes.
sort. I would
That would be very
I would hope they're not
interesting.
doing an improvement that would make traffic worse, so.
Right.
Well,
Well, and that's what I
living
think
through the
is fine.
build-out, as people in LaGrange are finding out, is a challenge.
Well, some,
But it gets the question on the table and gets it addressed. That's what we're really looking for is,
well, the idea of traffic better or worse, like some folks believe that a roundabout would be useful at the corner of 299 and Manheim, and some people think that would be a bad idea because that's a heavily used pedestrian area. And roundabouts are designed for cars
to
to
flow. Right, there isn't
but we
any
have
stop.
middle school kids who need to cross the street too.
Well, let's put it on, at least we'll address it on that, but I just wanted to get that in.
Okay.
That's a good point. Okay, anything else on transportation?
Thank you.
Okay, and you got the direct access to the thruway and that transportation too, right?
Yeah, that was on there.
Okay, yeah.
Aye.
Aye, okay, that's why I wrote it down. What happens is when you update them, I just don't, rather than print them out again, I just kind of start marking up the piece of paper, so I said, well, I didn't write that. Okay. For the students in the group, what we're looking at is a scoping document for Wildberry Lodge, which is a hotel recreation area planned out by Ohioville. And it has a number of major impacts on the community. So some of the things that we look through is what's the impact on the land under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. So this is what we're trying to understand is a scoping document to have the applicant look at these various impacts to the site, to the surrounding areas, where their water and sewer is coming from, how the traffic pattern is going to be impacted on it, is there any archaeological information that we should be aware of in there, how does it impact the Newtown wetlands. So they'll go back and do the studies and look at all these pieces of information and submit to the board a draft environmental impact statement, which addresses the issues that we're raising in the scoping document. And then we'll have a public hearing and let the public be able to review that document along with all the involved agencies, all those that are granting permits to this project get a chance to review it and raise any comments that we see necessary for it. And so we're really at that stage on the project right now. So this is the first time looking through those issues that have impacts on land, water, air, utilities, transportation, community impact. So we're going through a document to help direct the applicant into the areas that we're concerned about. Okay, community services. Anybody have any comments on that? We talk about utilities, existing conditions, emergency services, fiscal analysis,
Might be covered somewhere else, but I guess a plan for community members, or, yeah, to use the space, if there'll be any different rates or, things like that. It's probably in there. Tennis courts.
I think we have that.
I think that's really.
Yeah.
I had one question on it, and I just would like to see it addressed somewhere. Discussion on the general description of the impact of, I'll say it, a full house at the site, impact on the town and village. They're up for a weekend, full foliage, the place is full. Kind of give me a handle on where these people are Saturday and Sunday, during the day, during the night, just to get a feel of what I'm looking at is, there's a lot of things on the site to do, and I expect a lot of people to utilize that. But there are other sites, there are other things in town that are also going on. So does this add, number of people that are visiting the shops and stores and things downtown? Let's kind of get a handle on what we're
If I
looking at.
may, at Rocking Horse, we actually just purchased our third shuttle. So what we're finding is people want to explore the area, but they're doing so, and we will end up being a 123-room property. We're just exchanging some rooms right now. And we have 3 shuttles that go back and forth. And believe it or not, a lot of them do go to the walkway over the Hudson, West Point Military Academy, and the Roosevelt and Vanderbilt Estate. Also, a lot of traffic still goes east as well.
How big are the shuttles?
They're typical 12, 14 passenger vans, probably bigger because this would be literally almost double the size. So they'd be 14 to 16, something, maybe more, not sure yet. But not as many people want to drive as you would think. I mean, we're seeing it. And again, I've invited so many folks to come. Not one person has taken me up on my offer. To see it firsthand so you can see how it works. And they go to the Apple Greens Golf Course. And some people do go to New Paltz. But our idea here would be we're going to be a commuter property. We want people to do what's worked for us at Rocking Horse. Use the shuttle.
Well, yeah, again, I don't have any, I just want to get a handle on what we do and how we do it. And there's 2 different time frames that we deal with in the town. It's the daylight, people that go to the walkway and the Roosevelt home or up to Mohawk and things of that sort. And then there's the nighttime. This caters, I guess, more to families than anything else, but again, just to give me
Steve, you would imagine people coming through the village during the day to go to the mountain, to hike at Mohawk or
Correct.
hike up on the Dunks.
Through our shuttle.
Dinner time
Yeah.
in the village.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just,
Yeah.
And shopping, walking, so there'll be...
It works so well. They text our concierge, and she or he just, it's great. It works well. And if we need be, we're doing an event at Rocking Horse next week. Oh my gosh, we're parking actually in one of our horse pastures. We're going to be, bringing a couple school bus shuttles in. It's just the way to do it, Keep cars parked once. It really works well.
I just, again, from my perspective on there, I see 500 guests on a full weekend, and then where are they and what are they doing, just to give me a handle on where the events are covered and what people are doing. You can base it off experience there, but at Rocking Horse, but again, in the evening, it's more of a town is village open.
And
So
a lot of the orchards that we send our folks to, Phil and Sue, Minards now, they just changed hands. So a lot of these are off the grid for the thruway. And October would be the threshold month. I think we all kind of see that. And hopefully, hey, we've been doing a few weddings, on site too. But everything's happening kind of east of town or southeast of town where Miners are, the Herd's Orchard, Wilklow.
Yeah, and again, that's all.
Just to address your question, we already have a section in here on page 7 of 20. This addresses your point also, that says it's about project operation. Anticipated number of guests to hotel, water park, conference center, and tennis center. Describe extent to which water park, conference center, or tennis center may have guests who are not also hotel guests. That would be,
That was over,
and
yes.
describe the potential demands of each type of guest on parking volume, parking location. and traffic, discuss any potential seasonal, holiday, or weekend variation in these potential impacts. What we could do is add a sentence there that would say, provide an example of the weekend agenda for a peak weekend and a normal weekend. Would that be an appropriate place to put it?
Yeah, that's
Sort
fine.
of
I
just
just want-
generally describe, sort of an overview of where guests might be going. You could
I
describe the shuttle
think-
program.
I can take two extremes and say,
Right.
he's running the shuttles, and they're all going to restaurants downtown.
Downtown.
And I have 500 more people roaming the streets, okay? Or, I have 400 people having dinner at the hotel after they've been wandering around the countryside, and there's only maybe 100 people are going out there. I don't have a feel of that. I don't have any idea where that would be, but I'm just looking for some general guidance that you've seen from that, just to get a feel of impact on town services that are associated with it. Okay? I guess that was my question.
So we can add that.
Yep.
But it still seems like you're gonna have the option for visitors to come into town. But tell me if I'm wrong, it still seems like anyone visiting this new facility would be there with families and kids, and they'll probably want to stay on site. So it's nice to have the option to go out if you could find a babysitter, but it seems like most people are going to choose to visit Wildberry because of the amenities and offerings at Wildberry.
I would-
That's my
It's a
gut.
I guess that's
resort,
the
that's
thing
why
we
you're
know.
going
We don't
there,
know.
with, as a family event, yeah.
Yeah. It's a destination.
Well, again, that's what I'm just trying to get documented on it.
But we should describe that.
Yeah.
You know, this would be the area where we would describe that.
The family
It's
wants to go
not
for a
just
hike at the
a
preserve.
hotel.
Yeah.
He'll get, you probably have some, I mean, based on what your current experience is, how many guests you have and how many
Yep.
shuttles you run, so we'll have some good idea of, to
Sure.
give you kind of an idea of the
Some do
number.
go to the historic district now.
Yep.
Yeah, I could see, going back to Tim, is taking the family on the shuttle to some location for the day and going around and then coming back to the hotel and using the amenities at the hotel in the evening, especially if you have families. You don't get babysitters that often on it.
But like
But-
Tim says, there's a lot to do at the resort during
Yeah.
the day, too.
That's all. I think we're on the same page, just trying to document or get a
Yeah.
handle on it and based on experience.
Yeah, I think what Mike's saying is that you want to understand the extremes. Like, obviously, a lot of people are going to choose to come to Wildberry because of Wildberry's offerings, but what if
Right.
Yeah.
it turns out to be a destination where people stay to enjoy New Paltz, and what would those numbers
Yeah.
look and feel like in terms of county?
It's
We'll
just,
do our
My
best.
gut kind of says that people are going to go to Wildberry to go to Wildberry.
With the young family.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the elementary age family we're talking about.
right.
Yeah, it's not easy just to pick up and say, hey, let's go to the walkway. It's not as, yeah.
Well, let me say.
Transient.
You got elementary school children and you got the things at Wildberry, and Mom and Dad said, let's go see the Roosevelt House. I could see where you have.
Yeah,
You might have
get out of the pool.
Some go, some go.
I think what you probably see is your multi-day guests probably
Yes,
do that.
absolutely. More in the
Somebody's there for
summer.
the day is coming, they use the water park and going. If you're there for 2 or 3 days, you're doing day.
Yeah,
at the water
weekends
park.
are in
You're doing a
October,
day
it's
of
weekends.
Sightseeing in Hudson and back to the water park end of the day. And
Right, and most guests might be elementary school families, but there could be others. So,
sure.
I mean, I think that the only thing that we can quantify is Steve's real-world experience with a smaller but somewhat similar facility, and I think we're very lucky to have that empirical evidence, because I could see many people proposing this that wouldn't have any experience in Ulster County, in New Paltz. So I think we can give you realistic figures, but of course, one couldn't predict this with scientific certainty, but I think we can talk about trends and as well as the seasonal variations, because
Yeah.
it is the community, and you do have real-world experience.
That's what I'm looking for, just to get a
Okay.
handle on that.
But I think we'll put that in this section on
Okay.
project operations.
I have things with this next section.
Hmm?
Energy resources.
Yes.
Well, I just want to say that I think for me, this next section, energy resources, sustainable design, is the real heart of the scoping document. I know that's what I'll be looking at most carefully, because this project represents, just like you said earlier, a loss, oh God, I'm fogging my throat, represents a loss of open space for our community. That is a huge thing from an environmental standpoint that can never come back. This is not only a humongous loss of completely untouched acreage, well, not completely untouched, but you know, but not only that, but this is the first thing you're going to see when you come to this town. And this is a town that's known for kind of hippie environmentalism and natural beauty. And I think it's so vital that you don't miss this huge opportunity to create something that fits in with the town, that fits in with the beauty of it and the commitment to environmentalism and nature, and that it's not just a ticky-tacky development, and that it's something that is well done and it's something we can be proud of. I mean, right now in New Paltz we have the Rick Alfondri building just won awards for most, environmental building and blah, blah, blah. And, I think that's something that New Paltz is really committed to, and it would be really great to see some sort of, LEED gold standards or, something that is really gonna wow us in terms of environmental green design. So I hope you're working with people, which there's many of in the, in our community, who are committed to that, and that's it. That's what I'm looking at.
Well, they got the wording
Everyone
in
else
there.
looking
We'll
at
see
traffic.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yep.
We'll see what the
Great.
fishing is, but
Could I ask a question about that? We spent some time with Park Point going over the national green building
Yeah.
standard versus LEED. Do we want to repeat that experience or?
It depends I mean, I didn't see on that list anything about NGB, whatever. It
National
seemed,
Green
it's
Building
in
Council.
yeah.
Well, we have
And
here
the LEED
discuss
was listed, and
LEED.
yeah.
discuss project design in relation to LEED, ANSI, and Energy Star standards. I think it's really up to us to come back to you and say what it
Yeah.
is that we're proposing and why. I think a
Yeah.
whole laundry list here in the scope isn't going to make our analysis any more probative or extensive.
I know Steve is very committed to these types of things, and we talked about it
Yep.
from the beginning before I even said, Steve, you gotta think about these things. He was already, it was on his radar, just from, I think, it makes sense from him.
yeah, it makes sense all around
Definitely.
from a long-term building and.
Environmental perspective, from a marketing
Mhm.
perspective.
Yeah.
From an operational perspective?
Okay.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
I think
Well, we're
that's it.
So
passionate
I think
about
we
it.
hear you. I think the architects, when Steve made the first presentation to the town board, I think were very clear
Yeah.
that they have experience in this. This is going to be one of their major goals. So I think the town, at all levels, has made it very clear to us that New Paltz has a great commitment to
Nice.
and being in the forefront of environmentalism as well as energy efficient design. So we hear you.
Great. Well, I'm looking
Okay.
forward to reading all about it.
Anybody else have anything?
General formatting question, point. If you look at, on page 5 of 20, you look at, on the general note C, says each identified issue concerns to be grouped into existing conditions, potential impacts, and mitigation measures. In my experience going through the finding statement, I think we need one more that says proposed condition. So you have existing condition, proposed condition, what you'll create on the site, the impacts of that condition, and the mitigation measures that may be required. It works much better when I'm.
Is it LEED?
Would you just say that again, George? You're in C. You're in
What's this?
general note C?
Which is each identified issue of concern.
Yep.
So after existing conditions,
Uh-huh.
I would add, I think it makes sense to add proposed condition.
Okay.
So you're saying what the property will be like when it's developed in your preferred alternatives.
Okay, that makes sense.
I've never done it that way, but we could.
Makes sense what I'm trying to figure out.
Guess it ends up making the potential impact section a lot smaller, because that's usually.
Yeah.
what it's done.
Yeah.
It's the only difference.
Okay, I think we put those caveats and statements on our motion to approve the scoping document for the Wildberry Lodge draft environmental impact statement.
I'll make a motion.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Lyle. Any further discussion on it? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. If you haven't gotten figured out your marching orders, I think you figured them out. I
Thank you,
think,
Adele, good seeing you.
But,
Tell Mama, see Mom later, tell you so well. I will.
so it's, I think
You
it's, you did a good job putting it together. You certainly had experience putting it together. But I think, so it was a fine job that way on it, so.
Well, we appreciate the cooperation of the town's consultants and everybody on the board. I mean, the town consultants worked with us before this even went out to the public, and we appreciate all the public comments. So we look forward now to, this is the table of contents, we look forward to putting the rest of it together, so.
I have another technical question. Where does it stand in terms of, creating a zoning category for this property?
Well, that's certainly one of the actions, and the DEIS is going to be discussing that, including alternatives, and there are some alternatives here on the zoning also. So because this is an action where a developer at the same time is proposing the zoning change as well as the project itself, the law makes it clear that we have to analyze the impacts of the actual project on the ground before any modification of the zoning is made. So it's a little bit unusual that way in that the project can't go forth unless the town board acts, but the town board is going to want to have all this information of what is the project really going to be like. And I think what you said is a great example. They're going to want to know what kind of energy saving or advanced
look like?
resource, what is it going to look like, et cetera. So that's clearly a big part of the action. It will be discussed in the DEIS. And of course, the town board is a very important involved agency in commenting on the DEIS as well.
We will, it's basically going to be a paralleled operation. And the town board will be requesting us a review of that zoning ordinance and a recommendation or comment on that before they take action on it. So we'll be doing them somewhat simultaneously, but it's in a DEIS stage, so before we get to really finalizing site plan and stuff, we'll wrestle with the zoning ordinance and see what issues that have been raised and whether they're addressed and whether that's the right way to go. We'll go to county too, separately as a zoning change from the town board. But we'll get up, a lot of opportunity. I agree with you. I want to see that. It's tough to approve a project until you know what the ground rules are for it. So we can develop the ground rules knowing what the development of the project is.
Right.
So then, in that situation, I think we've discussed this idea before, so how do we kind of deal with whether it would be considered spot zoning? How does that work?
You want to talk about spot zoning? I already had this discussion with Dennis, but go ahead.
See if I say the same.
Say the same thing?
Spot zoning is when you change the zoning on the property in order to benefit the owner, and you do not do it for purposes of a comprehensive plan for the overall development of the community. You can rezone a very small area of land for a specific purpose as long as it's done consistent with an overall plan. If you do it, no matter how big or how amorphous it may be, if you do it to benefit one specific owner without regard to a comprehensive plan, it's spot zoning. So they can look the same. The point of reference is whether it's being done for an overall plan for the community or whether it's being done to benefit one person without regard to such a plan.
In this case, your zoning actually permits all these uses, just not together. I mean, it's never really envisioned, when this zoning was put together, there'd be a use like this. And we have recreation's permitted, hotels are permitted, but the way Steve has assembled this really doesn't fit into the zoning
You're saying
exactly.
New Paltz is zoning code
Yeah.
broadly, but
No,
not the way,
the site zoning,
the way that,
Parts are-
however
Yeah.
this is currently zoned?
yes, how the site is currently zoned. The different uses are permitted, but the
Yeah.
way Steve's put them together as a hotel recreation resort is something that was never envisioned. So
Sure.
really, the thing is to kind of clarify that, and how we do that,
Huh.
I think, is something that we're going to discuss here, and then
Mhm.
Jennifer's been working with your council on. So it's not like we're pulling a use from someplace else that's totally not even permitted here. It's really just how we really define it, redefine it in the zone. I think is one of the important
And part of
things.
the cooperative discussions that we've had to focus on all the planning issues have been early meetings with Dennis Doyle to discuss all of these issues. And I think we're all mindful that this is being looked at as part of the plan of the community and not in isolation. This is a site that the community has known for years is a large site at a very central location right off the thruway and has been subject to a lot of analysis. So building on that history of evaluation is part of the plan. The question is, does this fit with what we want? Because no question it's the gateway, no question it's going to be very visually prominent. But the key part is viewing it as part of the plan. And that's why we're doing this, to see, is this something the town wants as part of its plan?
Okay.
So, well, just one last procedural step. If you'll submit the revised document to the planning board can then issue it back to you.
Yep.
We'll put a notice in the end.
You can do that.
So we'll accept the changes, except for the ones that have been made tonight, and then we'll redline those. Would that be appropriate?
That would be what I would suggest if the chairman and the engineer say it's been revised. on the
Yep, look at the last
discussion.
final
It
revision.
could be issued by those.
Right, but so it's clear what the changes were from tonight. We'll accept all the other changes that we've, all the blue and green lines, or
Right.
red or whatever they
Yep.
are, and just redline the new things.
Yep.
The handful
Okay.
of new ones that we discussed tonight.
Yeah, right. Okay,
Okay.
makes sense.
Thank you
Thank
very
you very
much.
much.
Good night. Good seeing you.
Good night.
Yes, definitely.
How's it going so far? Yeah, so just kind of whatever.
Okay,
Yeah. Pick up with it.
we have extension requests. We gave, back in July, we gave them 2 months extension. We are now dealing with them. We have a request from Vaquero, New Paltz Views, and Rapid.
Oh, no pyramids?
We have not received anything from Pyramid or from K&E.
Oh, I see.
What a
Well,
surprise on K&E. Was you shocked to hear that?
I'm shocked.
Okay.
Can we talk
I would like
about,
to bring up the issue of their outstanding balances and.
yeah, well, I
We
know,
said we gave them 2 month extension, and the idea was that the town attorney would go to the talk and figure out a way to secure our interest in the money owed to us. Did anything like that happen? There was discussion with John Moriello regarding the possibility of a document that would be recorded. I believe that's where it is at this point.
so, okay. Well, which
Basically,
of them have,
Someone would say, I acknowledge that I have this debt, would be a record, anyone who wanted to buy the property would be on notice, there was an existing debt, and that would have to be paid before the use was made for the application. That's sort of a benign way of doing it. How do we formalize that into a policy? I think the town has to do, the town board with that.
do they all have outstanding balances? I know that,
No, Rapid doesn't.
okay. Well, I would like to make a motion then to approve RAPA.
For 90 days?
Maybe you could give us some prepaid extensions.
And then maybe wait for the other ones to hear back about this thing that we're doing?
Well, let's
Okay, well, first let's deal with RAPA.
give Rapper a motion made for a 90-day extension for the Rapper Pony Hill subdivision.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. You think we'll get a result, or do you want to petition the town to draw up the,
Do you want to, I mean, does the planning board want to send something to the town board to say, let's go?
yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to get at.
Basically, we have one project here that's from 2006. It's 8 years of free money.
Yeah, the project that will never be. Anyhow, yeah, I think I can make a motion to send a letter to the town, my town board member left, asking them to develop the document to record the debt of these projects. And to table the extensions of these 4 until we reach resolution on that motion. And that act by the town board.
That could be a while.
I know, but if I say 30 days or 60 days, I'm gonna come back and say the same thing over and over again. I would rather just table it, because then I can take it off the table and deny the project if I want to.
That sounds good. Is that?
Well, at this stage of the game, there's one on here that I'm more than happy to cancel. But I'm waiting for a while until we get something on the dock. Can't it?
Because I think just tabling without extending is a good way to go. And they've been sent letters, they get bills, right? So it's not like they don't know that they owe the money.
No, I don't. Kelly notifies them well before. She sent it out on the 9th of September, notifying them.
They also get bills every month.
And they do get a bill every month. So our town attorney will, or our planning board attorney will assist the chairman in drafting up that memo. Okay?
Great.
All right, anything else before
Wait,
the, what?
K&E. Wait, that K&E was included in that.
Those are the 4.
Oh, well, I don't want to,
Well, let's get it to the board. Then we, when we table it, we can always bring it back up
Okay.
again, if we really
Okay.
feel strong about it.
That's
Lyle wants to
ridiculous.
secure the debt
Okay.
in some way.
Yeah,
K&E's gonna be here for a while, somebody's gonna sell it, or somebody's gonna buy it.
yeah.
You know,
Well, that's very
They may
prudent.
have a totally different idea of a project, they may just throw that one away and start from scratch.
well, actually, he came in and said he was throwing it away. We
Yeah.
gave him a chalk. He said, I give you 60 days, come back with a new plan, so I can make this an extension, or a new plan. Nothing. So focus isn't here. That's why and he's not gonna build what we approved. He already told us
Yeah.
that. So I want to put some lien on it to some extent possible, and then deep
Okay.
six it.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
Did you get a second on that?
I'll second.
Um,
On the
I
table.
like it. Yeah.
Do we vote?
We need to
No.
vote to table.
We don't need it to table. There's one other thing on here. We've been approached, we get this every couple of years, but they'd like to have a joint meeting, town board, planning board, ENCB,
Good.
to go over things that jointly impact us all. We've always kicked them off and, tried to get the other boards to do something to, we'll run it, okay, be on Monday night, we'll run it, and,
Well, this is a good example of an issue that we could bring up at that meeting.
yep. So anyway, we try to get a joint date, to get all 3 boards in there, and what I'm looking for is topics that you think are apropos to be discussed with the town board, ENCB. One of them could be,
Agricultural zoning.
agricultural zoning, one of them could be,
The master plan?
oh, God. We only have one night. One of my things I think is now that the wetlands law is in, what is the town board and the ENCB think of how it impacts their operation or their thing. I mean, we have a procedure that we have to go through, but are they looking for something else, or are they, what's their role in some of these permittings, and they want to see that. I think that's just to get an understanding of that one, but
I'd like to talk about communication between the ENCB and everyone else, because I feel like that it's bad.
well, communication
Spoiler
between
alert.
boards.
Yeah, communication between boards.
Okay. Billing, wetland, this isn't casting concrete. It's difficult to keep on topic a lot of times, but give me some suggestions, and then I'll work with town board, and actually Kelly will work with everybody, see when we can arrange a location and a date. But it'll be one night. Generally speaking, they've met Monday nights. At least the last couple that I ran, because they were my nights for planning board meetings. So I will maybe, I think, try to find a Monday night meeting and devote it to a joint meeting with the town board.
Set a target, like third week of October, or, you know, like,
It's either going to be the meeting, the last meeting in October or the last meeting in November. So that's the 2 dates I'll shoot for.
And the town wants November so they can get through the budget.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
right. See, that's what I mean. See, those are little issues that come up. So we'll shoot for we'll put out the date for the November, last meeting in November for this. But give me some ideas, and I'll just float them out. I'll send them to you, and I'll send them to the town board, and I'll send them to ENCB. Ask for topics on it. If you devote a topic, if you pick a topic, I don't want to say anything, but you gotta give me a little, you gotta be willing to take the lead in having a discussion going on, what points you want to cover and things of that sort. So, help me out with that. Okay. Next meeting is October 15th. It's a Wednesday. Is that a problem on the school, the 15th?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure.
Okay, well, we usually, Veterans Day, well,
Yeah,
Columbus
a few times a
Day,
year.
yeah, in Washington, we hit that same problem on it. So anyway, the next meeting is scheduled for the 15th. And,
I'm not going to be at the meeting after that. Just put that.
oh, so we won't have the joint meeting in
Sorry.
October, because Augusta won't be there.
I have things to say.
I know. We're going to take the floor. Okay. Motion to adjourn? We'll move. I still got to get Robert's rules out. I don't think he needs it. Okay, thank you. Was it exciting as can